time did they turn on the light? Maybe they no longer did. That would disappoint her. She wanted to see how it illuminated Kiss River once every 4.5 seconds. If people were allowed to climb the lighthouse, she doubted they would be permitted to visit the lantern room. But she would have to get into that room, one way or another. Only recently, she'd discovered that she was a pretty good liar. She lived her entire life valuing honesty and integrity. Suddenly, she'd become manipulative, a master at deceit. She could, when pressed, travel far outside the law. The first time she'd snuck into a fitness club to use the shower on this trip east, she trembled with fear, not only at the possibility of being caught, but at the sheer dishonesty of the act. By the time she sauntered into the club in Norfolk, though, she'd almost forgotten she didn't have a membership at the place. The end justified the means, she told herself. So if visiting the lantern room of the lighthouse was not allowed, she would find another way to get up there. That was the entire purpose of this trip. She would talk with someone, one of the guides or docents or whatever they were, and make up a reason for needing to see that room. Research, she would say. She was writing about lighthouses, or taking pictures. She touched the borrowed camera hanging around her neck. It was heavy, impressive looking. She'd make up something that would sound plausible. One way or another, she needed to see the lantern room in its enormous globe of glass prisms, the Fresnel lens. The drive through the wildlife reserve seemed to go on forever, but at least the traffic had thinned out, as cars turned onto roads leading to the houses near the beach. The remaining traffic moved briskly, and the road was, for the most part, straight. Gina could examine the map easily as she drove. The sign indicating the location of the lighthouse should be somewhere along here, she thought. The road to Kiss River would run off to the right, cutting through the red oaks and loblolly pines, although it was possible that the landscape had changed since the days of the diary. Given the size and newness of many of the houses she had passed, it was possible the trees were completely gone by now, and the road lined by more of the touristy homes. Finally, she spotted a narrow road heading east into the trees. She pulled to the side of the main road, as close to the trees as she dared, and studied her map. There was no street sign, no hint at all that anything special lay down that road. But this had to be it. On the map, she could see the way the land jutted out from the road. There was no river at Kiss River. It was little more than a promontory with a whimsical name and a towering lighthouse. Surely that lighthouse was a tourist attraction. So why was there no sign? She wondered if she should continue driving up the main road to look for another, more promising turn, but shook her head. The sign must have blown over or been struck by a car. Trusting her map, she turned right onto the road. Instantly, the road jogged to the left, surrounding her by trees. The macadam was rutted and poorly maintained, and the road twisted its way into near darkness. The air was dusky, the trees so thick that little light could cut through them. Through the open windows, she heard the buzzing of crickets or frogs or some other critter, and the sound grew louder the deeper she drove into the forest. The road ended abruptly at a small cul-de-sac in the woods. Stopping the car, she turned on the overhead light. The map clearly showed the cul-de-sac, with a smaller road leading from it out to the lighthouse. Looking to her left, she spotted a narrow gravel lane with a heavy, rusty chain strung across its entrance. A sign hanging from the chain read in bold red letters, "No trespassing." This could not be right, she thought. Even if the lighthouse itself was not open to the public, the grounds surrounding it and the keeper's house certainly should be. She checked the map again. There were no other roads like this one, ending in a cul-de-sac. This was it, whether she wanted it to be or not. She looked up at the gravel lane beyond the chain again. The path was foreboding, dark, and shrouded by trees. She did not consider herself a brave person, although these last few months she had found courage in herself she'd had no idea she possessed. Getting slowly out of the car, she locked the door behind her. She did have a flashlight in the trunk, but the batteries had died somewhere in Kentucky, so she carried only her map and the camera around her neck as she walked across the cul-de-sac. One end of the chain was attached to a tree.